The paper smells like mildew and spite. Sue Ball's fingers are frozen around it. Not from cold, from terror. The funeral flowers are still fresh in the vase behind her, lilies that Patrick said reminded him of their wedding day. She can't smell them anymore. Just the paper. The trap. Her kitchen table is covered in envelopes she shouldn't understand. But she does now. $700,000. Gone. Not missing. Engineered to disappear. Patrick didn't leave her a life insurance policy. He left her a countdown clock. The phone rings. She doesn't pick up. She already knows what they want. The house, the car, the 42 years of "we're doing fine, honey" that were built on quicksand and lies. Here's the thing she should have known. The signs were there. The Friday night poker games that never left him smelling like cigars. The way he'd flinch when she asked about the mortgage. But she didn't want to know. Weaponized incompetence. She perfected it. Now Patrick's dead. And the real husband, the one she never met, just introduced himself through a lawyer's letterhead. She has 72 hours to find money that doesn't exist. Or maybe it does. Let me tell you what nobody warns you about grief. It doesn't wait for you to finish crying before it sucker punches you with paperwork. I buried Patrick on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, I discovered he'd buried me first. My name is Sue Ball, and for 42 years I was very good at one thing, not asking questions. Patrick handled the money. Patrick handled the bills. Patrick handled everything that required more than basic arithmetic and a checkbook. I signed where he told me to sign. I trusted where he told me to trust. Stupid? Maybe. But comfort makes cowards of us all. The day after the funeral, I opened the safe deposit box. Not because I'm responsible, because the bank called and said I had 24 hours before they froze the account. Inside, I found 3 things: a life insurance policy worth $12,000, a deed to a house that wasn't actually ours, and a handwritten note in Patrick's cramped script. It said, "I'm sorry. The clock started when my heart stopped." I didn't understand it then. I understand it now. And I'm running out of time. The clock on the kitchen wall is the kind that ticks. Loud. Patrick bought it at a yard sale 15 years ago because he liked the sound of time passing. I wanted to throw it against the wall every morning. Now it's the only thing keeping me sane. Tick. 71 hours left. Tick. 71 hours and 58 minutes. I spread the papers across the table like a crime scene, because that's what this is. Patrick committed financial homicide, and I'm the corpse that's still breathing. The deed first. Our house, the one with the yellow shutters I painted myself, the garden where I grew tomatoes that actually tasted like something, isn't ours. Hasn't been for 6 years. Patrick took out a second mortgage, then a third. Something called a reverse equity consolidation loan that I'm pretty sure he made up. The bank owns it. 5 banks own it. There's a clause buried in the third document that makes my vision blur. Upon death of primary borrower, all deferred interest becomes immediately due. Translation: Patrick died. Now I owe $473,000 by Friday. But wait, it gets worse. The life insurance policy, $12,000. Not even enough to bury him properly. I used my sister's credit card for the casket. Patrick knew this. He knew I'd open this box and find financial arsenic disguised as security. Why? The note doesn't explain. It apologizes. There's a difference. I'm sorry. The clock started when my heart stopped. My hands are shaking so hard the paper rattles. I read it again, looking for a hidden message. A code. Patrick loved puzzles. Sudoku. Crosswords. Those infuriating riddles he'd tell at dinner parties that made everyone groan. This isn't a riddle. It's a confession without details. The worst kind. I flip the note over. Nothing. Hold it up to the light. Nothing. I'm about to crumple it when I notice the texture. The paper is heavier than it should be. Expensive. The kind you buy at specialty stores for important documents. Patrick never bought expensive paper. We used the free notepads from the insurance company. I run my finger along the edge. There's a perforation. Deliberate. This page was torn from something, a book, a ledger. My mouth tastes like copper, like I've been chewing on the truth and it's cutting me from the inside. The phone rings again. I grab it this time. Mrs. Ball? A man's voice. Smooth. The kind of smooth that comes from practice, not personality. This is James Corwin from Pinnacle Financial Services. I'm calling about the property at... I know what you're calling about. Silence. He wasn't expecting that. Good. Mrs. Ball, we understand this is a difficult time, but the terms of your husband's loan agreement are quite specific. We'll need to schedule a walkthrough of the property by... Who is Slick? The silence is different now. Longer. Loaded. I'm sorry? Slick. That name mean anything to you? Mrs. Ball, I think you may be confused. Perhaps we should speak when you've had time to... I hang up. My knuckles are white. My teeth hurt. Slick. The name was in Patrick's phone history. The one I found yesterday in the garage, taped under his workbench. 347 calls. All to the same number, all after midnight. 347 calls. I couldn't stop thinking about that number during the funeral. Kept doing the math in my head while the pastor droned on about Patrick's commitment to family and unwavering integrity. If you call someone once a day for a year, that's 365 calls. Patrick made 347 calls to Slick in 8 months. The casket was closed. Heart attack, they said. Massive. He was dead before he hit the kitchen floor. I found him next to the refrigerator, one hand clutching his chest, the other still holding his coffee mug. The mug didn't break. Patrick did. He was a good man, someone whispers behind me. I don't turn around. Can't remember who it is. Probably Linda from the church choir. She always smelled like drugstore perfume and misplaced certainty. Was he, though? A good man? 2 days ago, I would have said yes without hesitation. Would have bet my life on it. Now I'm realizing I did bet my life on it. And I lost. The funeral home is too warm, humidity pressing down like a wool blanket. Patrick would have hated this. He ran cold, always wore sweaters in July, kept the thermostat at 68 even when I was shivering under 3 blankets. I'm wearing the black dress he bought me for our anniversary. 10 years ago. Still fits. He noticed things like that, remembered my size, my favourite colour, the way I took my coffee, 2 sugars, no cream. He'd bring it to me every morning before I was fully awake. How does someone remember coffee preferences but forget to mention $700,000 in debt? The pastor is talking about resurrection now. New life. Second chances. I want to stand up and scream. There are no second chances when you're 73 years old and homeless. Patrick's brother Dennis catches my eye from across the room. He's crying. Real tears, not the polite kind people manufacture for funerals. Dennis worshipped Patrick, called him every Sunday, asked for advice about everything from car repairs to retirement funds. Did Patrick lie to him too? Or was I the only one stupid enough to believe the performance? After the service, people form a line. They hug me, pat my shoulder. Tell me stories about Patrick I've heard 1,000 times. The fishing trip where he caught a bass the size of a briefcase. The time he fixed the church boiler with duct tape and prayer. How he volunteered to do everyone's taxes for free during April. Taxes? Jesus. Patrick did taxes. The irony would be funny if it wasn't destroying me. Dennis is the last person in line. He pulls me into a hug that smells like Old Spice and desperation. Sue, if you need anything, money, help with the house, anything at all, you call me, okay? I nod against his shoulder, feel his grief vibrating through his chest. He loved you so much, Dennis says. You were his whole world. I pull back, look him in the eye. Dennis, did Patrick ever mention someone named Slick? His face goes blank, not confused, blank. Like I just asked him a question in a language he pretends not to speak. No, he says, too fast. Never heard that name. He's lying. They're all lying. Dennis is lying, and his lie follows me home like a stray dog I can't shake. I drive past our street twice before I can force myself to turn in. The house looks smaller than it did this morning. Like it's already shrinking away from me, preparing for new owners. The yellow shutters I painted are peeling. When did that happen? Patrick always said he'd fix them next weekend. There were a lot of next weekends that never came. Inside, the silence is wrong. Houses make noise, furnaces clicking on, floorboards settling, refrigerators humming. This house is holding its breath, waiting for me to find the rest of the trap. I go straight to Patrick's office, the room he called his command center with that little laugh that meant he was joking but also wasn't. Oak desk, leather chair, filing cabinet with a lock I never had the key to. Funny thing about grief, it makes you brave in ways you weren't before. Or maybe just reckless. Hard to tell the difference when your entire life is collapsing. I grab a screwdriver from the kitchen drawer. The filing cabinet breaks easier than expected. 3 good hits and the lock pops like a rotten tooth. The top drawer is organized. Color-coded folders, labels in Patrick's neat handwriting, insurance, utilities, medical. Everything a responsible husband would keep. The bottom drawer is chaos. Receipts, hundreds of them. Crumpled, coffee-stained, some so faded the ink has bled into ghosts. I pull one out at random. Cash withdrawal. $3,000. Another. $5,000. Another. 8. Every Friday. For 6 years. Where does a retired accountant get that kind of cash? Our pension was comfortable, but not $8,000 every Friday comfortable. Patrick said we were doing fine. He wasn't lying. We were doing fine. He was doing something else entirely. Underneath the receipts, there's a manila envelope. No label. Just a red wax seal that's already broken. Inside, a single document. Legal paper, dense paragraphs that make my eyes cross. But I understand enough. Dead man's switch promissory note. I have to read the term 3 times before it makes sense. It's exactly what it sounds like. A financial trap designed to spring when someone dies. Patrick borrowed money, massive amounts, from someone called Pinnacle Financial Services, with terms that seem almost reasonable. Low interest. Flexible payments. The kind of deal that sounds too good until you read the fine print. Upon death of the primary borrower, all deferred interest compounds immediately and becomes due within 72 hours. Failure to pay results in immediate foreclosure and asset seizure. Patrick turned himself into a ticking bomb. Then he died and handed me the detonator. My hands are shaking again. Worse this time. The paper is rattling like insect wings. There's a handwritten note in the margin. Patrick's writing, barely legible. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. The ledger is hidden where we first learned the truth. I'm sorry, Sue. I was trying to save us. I only made it worse. P. Where we first learned the truth? What truth? When? I throw the document across the room. It hits the wall and slides down, leaving no mark. Doesn't even make a satisfying sound. 42 years. I gave him 42 years, and he gave me a riddle I can't solve with 67 hours left on the clock. 67 hours. The clock is a metronome counting down to homelessness. I leave Patrick's note on the floor where it fell. Can't look at it anymore. His apology is worthless when I'm the one who has to decode it while the world burns down around me. The receipts. Focus on the receipts. I dump the entire drawer onto the dining room table. Hundreds of them cascade out like confetti at the world's worst party. Some are so old they're practically transparent. I organize them by date, my fingers moving on autopilot while my brain tries to catch up. $3,000, January 15, 2019. $5,000, January 22, 2019. $8,000, February 5, 2019. The amounts climb. By December 2019, Patrick is pulling $15,000 every Friday. By 2021, it's 20. The receipts stop in August 2024, 4 months before he died. I grab my phone and open the calculator. Start adding. My arthritic knuckles protest, but I don't stop. Can't stop. The total makes me dizzy. $473,000. Almost $500,000 in cash withdrawals. Not checks, not wire transfers. Physical money that Patrick walked out of banks with in envelopes and duffel bags and God knows what else. Where is it? I tear through the house like a burglar in my own home. Check under mattresses, behind picture frames, inside the toilet tank like I've seen in movies. Nothing. Patrick's closet yields 3 suits that smell like him. And nothing else. The attic is full of Christmas decorations and dust. The basement has our old water heater and spiders the size of my thumb. No money, no safe, no treasure chest marked, "Here's where I hid our future." I'm standing in the kitchen, sweating and furious when I notice the refrigerator. Patrick died next to it, one hand on his chest, one hand holding his coffee mug. Why was he getting coffee at 3 a.m.? I pull open the refrigerator door. Milk, eggs, leftover casserole from the church lady, whose name I still can't remember. I start pulling everything out, checking behind condiment bottles, under the vegetable drawer. Nothing. But the freezer. Something about the freezer. I yank it open. Frozen peas. Ice cream I bought 6 months ago and never ate. A bag of something meat-like wrapped in butcher paper. And in the back, behind a box of fish sticks, Patrick claimed he'd cook someday. There's a small metal box. Locked. Of course it's locked. I grab the screwdriver again. This lock is tougher. Takes me 10 minutes and 2 broken fingernails before it finally gives. Inside, there's no money. Just a phone. Not Patrick's regular phone, the one the police returned with his personal effects. This one is older. A flip phone, the kind drug dealers use in TV shows. I open it. The battery is dead, but there's a charger in the box too. My hands are trembling so badly I can barely plug it in. The phone takes forever to power on. When it does, there's only one number in the call history. Slick. 347 calls, and 1 voicemail. I press play. A man's voice. Smooth. Familiar. "Patrick, it's James Corwin. We need to talk about Friday's payment. You're 2 weeks late. Call me back, or we're moving to phase 2. James Corwin. Pinnacle Financial Services. The bank that owns my house. Slick works for the bank. The bank owns my house and Patrick was calling them Slick. I play the voicemail again. James Corwin's voice has that corporate smoothness, but underneath there's something else. An edge. The way someone sounds when they're pretending to be professional, but really they're threatening you. Phase 2. What the hell is phase 2? I scroll through the phone. No texts, no contacts except that single number. But there's a photo gallery, 12 images. I open the first one. It's a handwritten list. Names I don't recognize. Dollar amounts next to each name. The smallest is 10,000. The largest is 95. Second photo. A different list. Same format. Different names. Third photo makes my stomach drop. It's Patrick, but not my Patrick. This version is wearing a leather jacket I've never seen. He's standing outside a bar I don't recognize, smoking a cigarette. Patrick quit smoking in 1987, said it was going to kill him if he didn't stop. Guess he found other ways to die. Fourth photo. Patrick at a poker table, cards in his hand, chips stacked in front of him. He's smiling. Not the smile he gave me across the breakfast table. This smile is feral, hungry, like he's tasting something delicious and dangerous. I'm looking at a stranger wearing my husband's face. Fifth photo. A document. Loan agreement. Patrick's signature at the bottom. The borrower name says Patrick Ball, but the business name says Slick's Consulting Services. Patrick had a business. A secret business. With the worst name in history. I keep scrolling. More poker tables, more bars, photos of Patrick with men I've never met. They're all wearing the same expression, that particular kind of exhaustion that comes from living 2 lives and maintaining both. The last photo is different. It's a screenshot of a text conversation. Not from this phone, from somewhere else. Patrick, I can't keep doing this. It's eating me alive. Unknown. You don't have a choice. You know what happens if you stop. Patrick, I'll figure something out. There's always a way out. Unknown. Not from this. The only way out is in a box, friend. And even then, we're coming for what you owe. The timestamp is from 3 weeks before Patrick died. My throat is closing. Can't breathe properly. The kitchen is spinning, or maybe I am. Patrick didn't have a heart attack. He had a countdown clock tattooed on his heart and it finally ran out. I drop the phone. It clatters on the tile but doesn't break. Typical. Everything else in my life is shattering, but this cheap burner phone survives. Under the kitchen sink, there's a panel Patrick installed years ago, said it was for extra storage. I never questioned it, never opened it. That was Patrick's space, his domain. I rip the panel off. It takes both hands and something tears. The wood or my sanity, hard to say which. Behind it there's a leather bag. Heavy. I drag it out and unzip it. Inside there are files. Dozens of them, each one labelled with a name and a dollar amount. I grab one at random. Marcus Chen, 45,000 Tarsdors, high roller, pays on time, married. Wife doesn't know. These aren't client files. They're profiles. Dossiers. Patrick wasn't borrowing money. He was running a gambling ring. And every single person in these files is someone I know. Marcus Chen coaches Little League with Dennis. I've watched him at barbecues, flipping burgers and telling dad jokes that made everyone groan. I pull another file. Linda Kowalski, $23,000, weekly player, choir money, husband deployed. Linda, the woman from the funeral who smelled like drugstore perfume and called Patrick a good man. Another file. Dennis Ball, $67,000, compulsive, chases losses, excellent credit, brother. My hands go numb. The file slips through my fingers and lands face up on the floor. There's a photo clipped to the inside. Dennis at a card table, eyes red, looking like he hasn't slept in weeks. Patrick didn't just run a gambling ring. He recruited his own brother, bled him for $67,000. And Dennis stood at the funeral and cried real tears. I'm going to be sick. No. Stop. Think. If Patrick was running this operation, someone had to know where it happened. These people didn't play poker in our living room. I would have noticed. I'm oblivious, not comatose. I grab the burner phone again. Scroll back through the photos until I find the one with Patrick outside the bar. Zoom in. The sign above the door is partially visible. The ace, something. The rest is cut off. I know every bar in this town. Been driving past them for 42 years while Patrick claimed he was at book club or helping Dennis with his taxes. There's only one place with ace in the name. The Ace of Spades, South Side. The part of town I avoid after dark because Patrick always said it wasn't safe. Patrick always said a lot of things. I check the clock. 11:47 p.m. 59 hours left. The Ace of Spades is probably still open. These places always are. Should I go? Driving to a seedy bar in the middle of the night sounds like the beginning of a true crime episode where the victim made bad choices. But staying here, surrounded by evidence that my entire marriage was a performance, sounds worse. I change out of my funeral dress. Put on jeans. Patrick's old jacket, the one he wore for yard work. It smells like him and lies, and I hate that I find it comforting. The drive takes 20 minutes. Could have done it in 15, but I get lost twice because I'm crying, and driving isn't compatible with crying, but here we are. The Ace of Spades looks exactly like you'd expect. Neon sign flickering. Motorcycles parked out front, windows so grimy you can't see inside. I sit in my car for 5 minutes. Engine running. Hands on the wheel. What am I doing? I'm a 73-year-old woman who gets winded climbing stairs. I don't belong here. But Patrick belonged here. This was his world, his real world. And if I'm going to find the money, or the ledger, or whatever cryptic thing Patrick hid, I need to stop being the wife who didn't ask questions. I need to become someone else. I turn off the engine, walk to the door. My hand is on the handle when someone behind me says, "You lost, Grandma." Grandma, The word hits like a slap, but I don't turn around. Can't show weakness, not here. I'm exactly where I need to be, I say. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. The man laughs. Rough smoker's laugh that turns into a cough. Lady, this ain't bingo night. You sure you got the right place? Now I turn. He's younger than I expected. Maybe 40. Leather vest, tattoos crawling up his neck, but his eyes aren't mean, just confused. I'm looking for information about Patrick Ball. His expression changes. Confusion hardens into something else. Recognition, maybe. Or wariness. Slick's dead. I know. I buried him yesterday. The man studies me. Really looks. Then his face softens in a way that makes me want to cry, and I refuse to cry in front of this stranger. You're the wife. Not a question. A statement. Man. He talked about you sometimes. Said you made the best pot roast he'd ever eaten. Pot roast. Of all the things Patrick could have said about me, he chose pot roast. Did he bring people here to play cards? The man glances at the door, back at me. Look, lady. Sue. Sue. I don't know what you think you're going to find here, but Slick kept his business tight. Nobody knew nothing except what they needed to know. That's how he stayed safe. Stayed safe. Past tense. Because he's dead, and whatever he was running caught up with him anyway. He left me a message, I say. Said the ledger is hidden where we first learned the truth. Does that mean anything to you? The man's eyes flicker. Just for a second, but I catch it. You know something. I don't. Yes, you do. Please. My voice cracks. Damn it. I have less than 3 days before they take my house, everything I own. If there's anything at all, you can tell me, I'm begging you. He runs a hand over his face, sighs. There's a back room, private games, high stakes. Slick ran it for years. But after the bank started squeezing him, he got paranoid, started hiding things. Said if anything happened to him, his wife would know where to look. Where we first learned the truth, I repeat. The man shrugs. Don't know what that means, but the back room, he had this chair he always sat in. Lucky chair, he called it. Wouldn't let anyone else use it. Maybe start there. 10 minutes later, I'm sitting in Patrick's lucky chair. It's hideous, brown leather, cracked, duct tape holding one arm together, the kind of chair you'd find on a curb with a free sign. Patrick sat here. Every Friday for 6 years, while I sat at home believing he was safe. I run my hands over the armrests, under the seat. Nothing. Start to stand when I feel it, a lump in the cushion that doesn't belong. I flip the chair over, the bottom fabric is loose, someone cut it and sewed it back up. Badly. My hands are shaking as I tear it open. Inside the lining, wrapped in plastic, there's a leather notebook. The ledger. The leather is soft. Expensive. The kind Patrick would have spent money on because he believed quality mattered even in his secret life. I unwrap it slowly. My fingers are numb from adrenaline or fear or both. Inside, the pages are filled with Patrick's handwriting, columns of names and numbers, dates, codes I don't understand, but some names I recognize immediately. James Corwin, Pinnacle Financial Services, $127,000. Judge Patricia Holbrook, $43,000. City Councilman Robert Torres, $89,000. Police Chief Michael Davidson, $56,000. Patrick wasn't just running a gambling ring, he was running a gambling ring for people who could protect him. People with power. People who had everything to lose if anyone found out. That's why he could operate for 6 years without getting caught. He had the entire town's leadership in his pocket. And now I'm holding the evidence. I drive home with the ledger on the passenger seat, wrapped back in its plastic like a bomb I'm transporting. Every red light feels like an eternity. Every car behind me looks suspicious. It's 2 a.m. when I pull into my driveway. The porch light is on. I don't remember leaving it on. The front door is unlocked. I definitely locked it. My heart is hammering so hard I can hear it in my ears. Should I call the police? The police chief is in Patrick's ledger. Should I run? I'm 73 and exhausted, and I have nowhere to run to. I push the door open. James Corwin is sitting at my kitchen table. He's not wearing a suit, just jeans and a jacket. Looks younger than he sounded on the phone. Maybe 50. The kind of handsome that comes with money and power and knowing it. Mrs. Ball. I was hoping we could talk. My hand tightens on the ledger, hidden behind my purse. He hasn't seen it yet. You broke into my house. I let myself in. Your husband gave me a key years ago. Emergency purposes. He gestures to the chair across from him. Please, sit. We're not enemies here. You're trying to take my house. I'm trying to collect a debt your husband agreed to. There's a difference. His voice is calm, reasonable, the kind of reasonable that makes you want to agree with him even when you know you shouldn't. Sue. May I call you Sue? I understand this is difficult. Patrick put you in an impossible position, but the loan agreement is legal, binding. I don't have a choice. Phase 2, I say. What's phase 2? His expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. That I know more than I should. Patrick told you. Patrick left me a lot of things, including questions you're going to answer. I pull out the ledger, set it on the table between us. Watch his face drain of colour. Here's what's going to happen, I say, and my voice is steady now. Strong. You're going to walk away from the debt, all of it, or this ledger goes to the FBI tomorrow morning. Corwin stares at the ledger, then at me. Then he starts laughing. You really think you can blackmail me? Sue, you're adorable, but you have no idea what you're holding or what it means. He reaches for the ledger. I pull it back. Try me. Try me. The words hang in the air between us like a challenge neither of us expected me to issue. Corwin's smile fades. He leans back in my kitchen chair, the one Patrick used to sit in during breakfast, and reassesses me. I watch him do it. See the moment he realizes I'm not the confused widow he walked in expecting to manipulate. You don't understand what you're holding, he says again, but this time his voice has an edge. Sharp. Desperate. Then explain it to me. That ledger doesn't just have my name in it, Sue. It has everyone's name. Police, judges, city officials. You think you can weaponize that? You'll be dead before you make it to the post office. My hands are shaking. I grip the ledger tighter to hide it. Is that a threat? It's reality. Patrick understood how this worked. You blackmail one person, fine. You blackmail an entire power structure? He shakes his head. They'll bury you, literally. Then why are you here? If I'm so powerless, why break into my house at 2 a.m? Silence. The clock ticks. 47 hours left. Corwin's jaw tightens. Because I'm trying to help you. Patrick was my friend, believe it or not. Your friend. You drove him into debt that killed him. Patrick drove himself into debt. Corwin's voice rises, first crack in his composure. I gave him a way out. A business opportunity, protection. He's the one who got greedy. Started skimming. Thought I wouldn't notice. Skimming. Patrick was stealing from his own operation. How much? Does it matter? How much? Corwin exhales hard through his nose. 200,000, give or take. He had a gambling problem of his own. Spent years managing everyone else's addiction while feeding his own. Ironic, right? My husband, the man I shared a bed with for 42 years, had a gambling problem I never saw. Or maybe I did see it. Maybe I just called it working late and helping Dennis because denial is easier than truth. Here's the deal, Corwin says, leaning forward. You give me the ledger. I forgive the debt. You keep the house. Walk away clean. No one gets hurt. And if I don't? Then I activate phase 2. Foreclosure. Asset seizure. You'll be homeless by Monday. And that ledger won't save you. It'll just make more people angry. I look down at the leather notebook. Patrick's handwriting. His secrets. His lies. All this time I thought he was protecting me. Turns out he was just protecting himself, and I was collateral damage. My fingers find the edge of a page. Patrick's debt, listed in his own hand, $473,300 to Pinnacle Financial Services. I tear the page out. Corwin lunges forward. What are you? I light it with the candle on the kitchen table. The one I keep lit because Patrick liked the smell of vanilla. Liked. Past tense. Because he's dead and I'm the one left burning his mistakes. The page curls. Blackens. Turns to ash. There, I say. My debt is paid. Corwin stares at the ashes. At me. You just destroyed evidence. No, I just destroyed leverage, yours and mine. Now we're even. That's not how this works. Then call the police. Oh wait, they're in here too. I flip through the ledger. Page 17. Chief Davidson owes you $56,000. Think he'll help you collect? Corwin's face is red, furious, but he doesn't move. Get out of my house, I say. And he does. The door slams behind Corwin and I'm alone with the ashes of my marriage scattered across the kitchen table. My hands won't stop shaking. Adrenaline is wearing off and terror is rushing in to fill the void. What did I just do? Burned evidence. Threatened a man who breaks into houses at 2 a.m. Made an enemy of someone who has judges and police chiefs in his pocket. Patrick would have called this reckless. Stupid. The kind of move someone makes when they don't understand the game. But here's the thing I'm finally understanding. I was never playing the game. I was the board, the collateral, the thing Patrick bet on and lost. I spend the next 3 days waiting for Phase 2, for the foreclosure notice, for Corwin to come back with reinforcements, for the house to be ripped out from under me. None of it happens. The bank calls once. I let it go to voicemail. The message is clipped. Professional. They're reviewing the account status and will be in touch shortly. Translation. They're scared of what else might be in that ledger. Dennis calls too. Asks how I'm holding up. If I need anything. His voice is thick with guilt and something else. Relief, maybe. That Patrick's death closed his tab. I don't tell him I know about the $67,000. Don't tell him I found the files. Some truths are more merciful buried. On day 4, I call a real estate agent, not to save the house, to sell it. She's confused. Mrs. Ball, the market is strong right now, but with the liens on the property. There are no liens, I say. Not anymore. Because here's what I figured out after Corwin left. Patrick didn't just hide a ledger. He hid leverage. Insurance. A dead man's switch of his own. If anything happened to him, I'd find the evidence. And the people who wanted him dead would know I had it. Mutually assured destruction. The same thing that kept the Cold War cold. Patrick didn't save me. He made me radioactive. The house sells in 3 weeks. I clear the legitimate debts, the ones with paper trails and legal standing. The predatory loans. Those died with Patrick. Corwin never files the foreclosure. Can't risk me going public. I'm left with $48,000. Not enough to retire on. Enough to start over. I buy a small apartment across town. 1 bedroom. No ghosts. No yellow shutters I painted myself while believing in permanence. The ledger sits in my closet, still wrapped in plastic, still dangerous. I could destroy it. Burn it like I burned Patrick's debt. But I don't. Some insurance policies you keep just in case. I'm sitting on my new balcony when I realise something. For 42 years, I let Patrick make every decision because I was afraid of making the wrong one. Weaponized incompetence. Playing small to stay safe. Turns out safe is just another word for trapped. The trap wasn't the debt. The trap was believing someone else could build a life for me while I watched from the sidelines. Patrick's gone. The house is gone. The marriage I thought I had never existed. But I'm still here. 73 years old. Broke. Free. And I finally learned the truth. If you've ever trusted someone so completely that you forgot to trust yourself, this story will cut deep. Sue's journey from weaponized incompetence to dangerous competence isn't just about money. It's about reclaiming agency when the person you relied on vanishes and leaves you holding the consequences. Subscribe if you want more stories that don't just entertain, but rewire how you see the choices you've been avoiding. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop letting someone else hold the pen that writes your life. Hit subscribe. Let's walk through the fire together.